afternoon. Welcome to A Cube IES. I am SRIKANT TRIPATHI, and today we are going to discuss about the recent cyclone that we have seen, the Tauktae cyclone, and also we will speak about the cyclone which is about to hit the coast of Bengal and Odisha, the Yaas cyclone. Now, viewers, one of the most important things for today's session will be that we will be actually seeing how a cyclone is formed, what exactly the Tauktae cyclone was, what all cyclones do we have seen in past 2 or 3 years, also from where the origin of these cyclones start. Now, primarily we have these two bodies, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Now, these are the places from where we actually see our cyclone has been formed. The origin of the cyclone, it starts from here, and later on it hits the coast. Depends upon on which sea, whether it is Bay of Bengal or whether it is Arabian Sea, the cyclone has been in. Now, viewers, one more very important thing here that we will be talking about what are the various forces required, like what are the primary necessary conditions for a cyclone to be formed. Also, how exactly the naming of cyclone is done, who does that, what are the various parameters that are required to be followed in order to name a cyclone. So now, students, we will be starting, and now I'll be sharing my screen with you guys so that you can have a better understanding of the things that are happening. Okay, so yes, now, so students, the topic that I said that we are starting today is Tauktae and Yaas. Okay, Tauktae and Yaas. These are the two cyclones. Now, when I speak about Tauktae, Tauktae, it came in the Arabian Sea, and the Yaas cyclone, it is expected to hit the coast of Bengal, and it has originated from the Bay of Bengal. Okay. Now, here, first of all, we are talking about Tauktae because we have already seen how it worked. Tauktae has passed, it has completely died down. Okay. So, what exactly was the situation? When, how it got started, how it affected, how it impacted the route? Now, the various states that were covered by Tauktae were Kerala. It started with the coast of Kerala. Then we had Karnataka. After Karnataka, it was Maharashtra. Later on, it was Gujarat. Okay, so these were some of the important states that actually suffered the devastation that was caused by the Tauktae. Okay. Now, if we speak about cyclone Tauktae, Tauktae, the pronunciation, there is a K here, but you don't have to confuse with that. The pronunciation is very simple. The pronunciation is Tauktae, Taute, Tauktae. Okay. Now, Tauktae is a word in Burmese language. Now, this idea, this name, it was actually given by Myanmar, and word Tauktae in Burmese language, it means a gecko lizard. Gecko lizard. Right? So, Cyclone Tauktae, pronounced as Tauktae, is classified as a very severe cyclonic storm. Very severe cyclonic storm. See, when we speak about the classification, of cyclones, there are various different categories under which we can classify the cyclones. Okay, sometimes we are saying that it's just a severe cyclone. Sometimes we say it is extremely severe. Okay, so it depends upon this severeness. The severeness aspect is calculated on the basis of MSW. Now, what exactly this MSW is, we will talk about this in the later half of the session. Now, first of all, whatever information we have, let's just go through it. Okay, fine. Now, this cyclone got developed in Arabian Sea. Okay. Now, Tauktae is currently active. Now, it was with reference to the last week situation, or you can say the present week situation. I'm talking about Monday and Tuesday, right? So, Tauktae was active in the state of Gujarat, and it already had impacted the states of Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra. It is the fourth cyclone in consecutive years to have developed in the Arabian Sea, and that too in the pre-monsoon period. Now, see, when I speak about the development of the cyclones, now the development of the cyclones, it generally takes place in two manners. Okay, the development takes place in two manners. One is the pre-monsoon period. Pre-monsoon period means in the month of April to June, whereas the other one is post-monsoon period, which means from, you can say, October to December. Now, these are these two durations where we see that the development of cyclones takes place. So, I'm saying that it is the fourth cyclone in the last 4 years consecutively that has developed in Arabian Sea, and that too in the pre-monsoon period. Now, all the cyclones that we have seen in the past 4 years, that means starting from 2018, all the cyclones have been categorized into the category of, since 2018, all these cyclones have been categorized under the severe cyclone category or above. Either they were very serious or they were above the level of the severeness, right? Not just severe, they were extremely severe as well. Okay. Once Tauktae make its landfall, three of these will have hit the either Gujarat or the Maharashtra coast, and we have seen that the Tauktae, it hit the coast of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, etc. After cyclone Mikanu in 2018, which struck Oman, this cyclone Mikanu, it struck the coast of Oman. Cyclone Vayu, it struck the coast of Gujarat, and cyclone Nisarg, it struck the coast of Maharashtra. So this is the fourth cyclone in the same sequence, and that too during the pre-monsoon period. Now you have to remember these things, reason being, if we speak about the aggressiveness of the cyclones that come from Arabian Sea, generally it weren't of that importance. But in the past few years, we are seeing that the number of cyclones that are being formed in the Arabian Sea, their severeness value has also increased. And also, one of the most important thing, the damage caused or the extent to which these cyclones are traveling, the extent, like the area which they have covered, you guys will not believe, but see, the severeness of Tauktae was so much that rainfall for at least 2 days, 3 days was observed. It happened in the month of May. At this point of time, there are no sign of rainfall in Uttar Pradesh or Delhi or the nearby areas. But it was impact of the Tauktae that we saw rainfall during this time as well. So the severeness and the extent which these cyclones are actually showing, it is really a cause of worry for us. Now, if we speak about, like I said, the classification of cyclones on the basis of their severeness. Now, how do you classify cyclones? Now, if we speak about the severeness, the Indian Meteorological Department, that is IMD, they classify cyclones on the basis of MSW. MSW is maximum sustained surface winds speed. Now, what exactly this MSW is? So it is basically a parameter which is associated with measuring the severeness of a cyclone. Here we are talking about what would be the wind speed, what would be the speed of the wind of that particular cyclone. For example, here the classification of cyclones is given, and you can say that the first category is severe cyclone. Now, when I speak about the severe cyclone, the MSW, that is the speed of the winds traveling along with the cyclone, would be around 48 to 63 knots. Now, because here we are talking about water bodies, so the speed parameter has to be in knots, right? 1 knot is equal to 1 knot. If I say 1 knot is equal to almost 1.8 kilometer per hour, you can take approximately 2 kmph. So just imagine the cyclones which are classified as severe, that their intensity would be severe. They are traveling at a speed from 48 to 63 knots. That makes it 96 kilometer an hour. The winds are moving at a speed of 96 kilometer an hour to 126 kilometer an hour. Just imagine the movement of the winds is so high. Secondly, the second one, this was the case for the severe ones. Let's talk about the very severe ones. The cyclones which are classified under the category of very severe, they have a MSW between 64 to 89 knots. You can calculate the speed by multiplying the value 64 into 2 to 89 into 2. That is, it is going to be 128 kilometer per hour to, it'll be 178 kilometer per hour. The third criteria or the classification is extremely severe. Extremely severe. Now, when I speak extremely severe, so here the MSW, maximum sustained surface wind speed, is 90 to 119. That means 180 kilometer to almost you can say 238 kilometer per hour. Next comes is the super cyclonic storm. Super cyclonic, the destruction is going to be unbelievable. That means an MSW of over 120 knots. When the speed of the winds is over 120 knots, or you can say when the speed of the winds is over 240 kilometers an hour, such a cyclone, the winds associated with such a cyclone will be called as the super cyclonic storm. This was the classification, how the classification of the cyclones is done on the basis of the severeness that they have, or you can say on the basis of the speed of the wind with which the cyclone is moving. Okay, now next. Now, recently, the most important question here that we have to see, we have to understand is what exactly are the reasons why. Now, this is something which is very important, and it is to be understood that why Arabian Sea has suddenly in the past 3-4 years, why Arabian Sea has become a hotbed. Arabian Sea has become a hotbed of cyclones. Some information regarding that. Now, annually, if we speak about India, annually, 5 cyclones on average form in the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea combined. A total of 5 cyclones are seen collectively in both Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Okay. Out of these five, 4 of the cyclones they develop in the territory or the region of Bay of Bengal, whereas one develops in the region of Arabian Sea. Now, it is also been said that the Bay of Bengal is comparatively warmer. One of the most important requisites for a cyclone to be formed is a temperature of over 27 degrees Celsius. Apart from the low atmospheric pressure zone, there is one very important requisite, that the temperature has to be, the temperature of the water body has to be 27 degrees Celsius. And students, there was a mains based question that was asked with reference to this, that why tropical cyclones occur in the regions, or primarily occur on the eastern coasts. The question that was asked was, why tropical cyclones they occur only in the majorly in the eastern coast. Now this is something which is very important to be understood. Okay, now we'll understand this aspect as well. So now it is generally understood that Bay of Bengal, which is considered as more warmer area as compared to that of the Arabian Sea, one of the most important factors could be the landlocked, or you can say the land bodies surrounding the areas. The land bodies surrounding the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, it plays a very important role. It plays a very huge role. Okay. So in 2018, while the Bay of Bengal maintained its average of 4 cyclones a year, the Arabian Sea produced 3 cyclone storms. Now in 2018, everything was perfect with reference to the Bay of Bengal, and the total number of cyclones that came in the year 2018, or the total number of cyclones that appeared in the year 2018 in Bay of Bengal, they were 4 in numbers. However, there was a significant change with reference to the Arabian Sea, because this time Arabian Sea produced 3 cyclonic storms, and it was quite contrary to what it generally does. What it generally does, it produces only one. It produces only one storm, but in 2018, it came up with almost 3 cyclonic storms. In 2019, the situation went even higher. This time, Arabian Sea overtook Bay of Bengal with 5 cyclones. The total number of cyclones that came in the Arabian Sea, it were 5 in number as compared to that of Bay of Bengal, which could only have 3. That means on an average of 4 cyclones, they have almost 4 cyclones on an average in an year. But in 2019, Arabian Sea overtook Bay of Bengal's tally. Also, the number of cyclones that came in the Bay of Bengal that year were 1 less than the average. However, in 2020, the situation changed. Bay of Bengal produced 3 cyclonic storms. You must have seen. In fact, one of the most politically discussed debate during the West Bengal election was Amphan. Now, Amphan cyclone, it came in the year 2020. While Arabian Sea generated 2, the important one out of these 2 was the Nisarga cyclone. The Nisarga cyclone, which majorly affected the territory of Maharashtra. Now, why is it actually happening? Like I said, one of the most optimum situations for the formation of cyclone is temperature of the water body. Now, when I speak about Arabian Sea, many meteorologists over the years, they are coming up with this claim. They are regularly saying that the temperature increase in Arabian Sea is observed, that the water of the Arabian Sea, it is getting warmer and warmer. And this phenomena, this warming phenomena, it can be associated very easily with the aspect of global warming. Global warming. Now, they have said that in the past 40 years, the meteorologists, they have said that in the past 40 years, the temperature has increased by almost 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Celsius. See, according to you, this 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Celsius could be something which is negligible. But just imagine it as a whole. Just imagine it as a whole. If the temperature keeps rising like this with every reference, what change it could bring to our Earth? So this temperature increase, or you can say this global warming, is one of the primary reasons why there are so many cyclones that are developing in the Arabian Sea. Okay. Now, what exactly a tropical cyclone? The name itself suggests tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclone, that is, tropics are associated. And what are tropics? The tropics are Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Now, let's imagine here is the 0-degree line. Now this is 0-degree, which is equator. Now on the north of equator, there is an imaginary line passing at 23.5 degrees north, which is known as a Tropic of Cancer. There is another imaginary line passing 23.5 degrees south of equator, and it is known as Tropic of Cancer. Oh, sorry, Tropic of Capricorn. Now, the impact of equator. Now, when I know that equator is a warm area, so till what area the impact of equator remains? So it is generally being said that from 0 degrees to 23.5 degrees north, from 0 degrees, that is equator, to 23.5 degrees south, the impact of equator is present. It is present. Or if we speak about the classification, how the geographers, they have actually classified Earth. So say, I'm really very sorry for the diagrams, because like virtually making these diagrams with the help of a pen tab becomes very difficult. So please kindly bear with me. Okay. Okay. Now this is, just imagine this is Earth. This region is equator, 0 degrees. Okay, these two are your tropic lines, Cancer and Capricorn. Okay, now these two, 66.5 degrees north, 66.5 degrees south. Okay, and here 90 degrees. Now you know what? There is a classification, there is a name which is given to these regions. For example, at 90 degrees, what we call the zone to be polar, very icy, very cold. The region from 90 degrees to 66.5 is termed as frigid, okay, with reference to coldness, right? And the remaining, this particular region from equator to tropics, it is known as torrid regions. Okay, so just remember, very important, the torrid region with reference to heat, with frigid region with reference to cold temperature. Last one is polar, that means ice caps. Okay, now, so the thing that I was saying, that tropical cyclone is seen, generally, is always seen in the regions between 23.5 degrees north to 23.5 degrees south. And when there is heat associated, that means somewhere down the line, one of the most important criteria of a cyclone, that is temperature over 27 degrees, it also is met. Now, when I speak about a tropical cyclone, one thing which is quite important, one thing which is quite known to me is that a tropical cyclone, what are the characteristics? So there has to be a low atmospheric pressure area. Number two, high winds. And number three, torrential rainfall. Torrential rainfall. Okay. Okay. So what I said, that the important characteristics or the features of a tropical cyclone is number one, low atmospheric pressure. Number two, high winds. Okay. And number three, heavy rainfall. Okay. Now, characteristic features of a cyclone is the central region. The center region. Now, it is said that this particular region, this I, is a low atmospheric pressure area zone. And also, it is said that this particular place has comparatively warm temperature. Warm temperature. Okay. Now, there are various names which are given to these cyclones in the local language. Okay, various names are being given. For example, if I say that in the North Atlantic and Eastern Pacific Ocean, North Atlantic and Eastern Pacific Ocean, here the cyclones are known by the name hurricanes. Okay, hurricanes. However, the name changes when it comes to China, Japan, and Southeast Asia. Okay. Here, the name given to the cyclones are typhoons. Then, in the territory of India, we all know that we use them by the name the tropical cyclones. And in Australia, these cyclones are called as willy willies. Willy willies. Okay. Okay. Now, a very important thing here, that the storm, it rotates in counter, matlab anti-clockwise direction. Anti-clockwise direction when it comes to northern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, the cyclone or the storm, it rotates in the counterclockwise direction, whereas it rotates in clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere. Now, there is a force which is responsible for this particular movement, and we will also talk about that force because that force is really very important. Okay, really very important. Now, some of the favorable conditions for the formation and intensification of a tropical storm or a tropical cyclone. So, how exactly the conditions are made favorable? What exactly are the conditions because of which a good intensity, a high intensity cyclone is formed? Number one, a large sea surface with a temperature higher than 27 degrees Celsius. Large sea surface, a very wide, very open sea surface. Okay, a very open sea surface where the temperature has to be 27 degrees Celsius or above. 27 degrees Celsius or above or more. Second, very important thing. Second very important thing here is the presence of Coriolis Force. Now, Coriolis Force, guys, is a very important concept. I'll just give you a gist about how actually the Coriolis Force works. When we'll start taking the complete sessions, in those sessions, I will actually tell you how exactly the Coriolis Force works around us and why is it very important. See, I'll say, for example, let's say this is Earth, and I am standing here on the pole, and I can see from the pole that okay, this is India, and this is the spot I have to reach. Now, what I do is I take a plane and I follow the straight path. I have followed each and everything. I am following the same path. But when I reach the land, I find myself not in Mumbai, but I find myself in Mexico City. I did whatever was right, the correct path. There was no issue with the path. I followed the right path, which was provided, and I went on to it straightforwardly. Yet I did not reach Mumbai. Instead of reaching Mumbai, I reached Mexico City. Now, what exactly is that reason? Why would you say that happened? Why would you say that happened? We all know there are two principles, there are two phenomena that is performed by our Earth. Number one is revolution. Number two is rotation. Earth revolves around sun, rotates around its axis, bent at or tilted at an angle of 23.5 degrees Celsius. But when this rotation is taking place, that means Earth is constantly moving, Earth is constantly rotating. And that speed is almost with reference to this much, around 1400 kilometers an hour. Just imagine, like this is the speed that I'm talking about. So now you can get the idea. When you were traveling from the pole, when you were traveling from the pole, you followed the straight path, you were in the air. But in the meanwhile, the earth was also rotating. The earth was also rotating at its pace. Now, this is something with reference to Earth's rotation. Now, how does Coriolis force plays the role here? Now, the role of the Coriolis force is that when you start moving from the pole, in which direction will you go? Okay, let's say this is the place from where I am moving. Let's say I'm on the South Pole. So the Coriolis force decides whether I will go this side or whether I will go this side. It is the Coriolis force that actually determines my deflection. I'll give you a very simple example. You guys must have heard of law of conservation of momentum. Very basic law we all have studied. See, I'm talking about let's say, okay, for example, see, this is a, for example, this is a string I have. Okay, this is a string I have. Now, I am moving it. It is moving at a pace. I'm moving it like this. But what if I'm holding it from here? What if I reduce this area and I start holding this? Will there be any change? Will there be any change? Okay, now I'm rotating it. I have to complete this much area. You can see one very important thing here. What happens is, it doesn't matter how long or how small the string is. If the string is long, the speed will be lesser. But if the string is reduced to a small size, the speed of the string will definitely increase. Or one more thing, all of us must have played this game when in our childhood. Just imagine that swing, okay, that circular swing. Every one of us used to stand like here. Okay, a circular swing, and it is rotating like this, like a chakki, like a mill, floor mill. Okay, and somebody is pushing it. Just imagine you are sitting on one such big swing. You are sitting, and you are playing a ball of, you are playing a game known as passing the ball. Okay, for example, I am sitting here there is a person sitting opposite to me. There is another person sitting at my right angle. There is another person sitting at my right angle. So we are four guys who are sitting, and we are sitting in this spinning wheel, and it is rotating. It is on the ground and it is rotating like this, somewhat like this, somewhat like this. And we are playing this game of passing the ball. So when I will throw the ball, when I throw the ball to a person sitting exactly opposite to me, the ball, rather than going to that person, would deflect in this direction. I will throw the ball like this. Okay, I will throw the ball like this, but the ball will deflect in this direction. It will deflect in this direction. This happens in the case of North Hemisphere. Now, through a very basic example, through a very simple, through a very basic example. Okay. For example, I am standing on the North Pole. Okay. And I throw a stone. The ultimate agenda is the movement, the deflection, how the deflection is being followed. I'll take a stone and I will throw it. On which direction will it travel? I have thrown the stone straight away. The stone will tend to travel towards this direction, towards this direction. That means the stone which I have thrown, it will tend to move in this direction. That is in the right direction. Similarly, if I'm in the southern hemisphere, South Pole, if I throw a stone, the stone will tend to travel in left direction. It will tend to travel in the left direction. So the Coriolis force basically defines the deflection. The deflection. Now, how the Coriolis force will actually play its role here? Just see. If a cyclone occurs, in the northern hemisphere, the water will tend to move towards which direction? The water will tend to move towards the right direction. If the cyclone occurs in the southern hemisphere, then in what direction will it tend to travel? It would tend to travel in the left direction. This is what exactly Coriolis force is important for. This is the role which is played by the Coriolis force. Another very important condition is that there has to be a pre-existing low pressure area. Importance of a low pressure area. Right? So these are some of the important conditions which are required in order for a proper formation of a cyclone. Now, guys, let's talk about how actually the naming is done. So, according to WMO, the World Meteorological Organization guidelines, countries in every region are supposed to give names to for cyclone. The region in which India is coming is North Indian Ocean region. Now, this particular region, it covers all the tropical cyclones emerging either or formed in the Bay of Bengal and in the Arabian Sea region. Okay, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea region. This is a total group of 13 countries. 13 countries are there. They are Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arab, United Arab Emirates, or Yemen. Okay. Next one is the India Meteorological Department. One of the 6 regional specialized meteorological centers, RSMC, in the world is mandated to issue advisories and name tropical cyclones in the North India Ocean region. In the North India Ocean region. रीजनल स्पेशलाइज्ड अगर हम लोग यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं तो 6 सेंटर्स यहाँ पर इंडिया का जो मीटेरोलॉजिकल डिपार्टमेंट है वो उन 6 रीजनल स्पेशलाइज्ड मीटेरोलॉजिकल सेंटर्स में से एक है जिसको ये पूरी की पूरी जिम्मेदारी देकर के रखी गई है। गाइडलाइंस यहाँ पे बोल रहा है आपको, व्हाट आर द गाइडलाइंस, किस तरीके से हम लोग नाम जो है वो अडॉप्ट करते हैं साइक्लोन्स का। व्हाट आर द गाइडलाइंस दैट आर बीइंग फॉलोड टू अडॉप्ट द नेम ऑफ द साइक्लोन्स। नाउ व्हाइल पिकिंग for cyclones, here are some of the rules that countries need to follow. If these guidelines are following, the name is accepted by the panel on tropical cyclones that finalize the selection. मतलब कुछ गाइडलाइंस दे करके रखी गई है, यदि कोई भी सुझाव दे सकता है, आप, मैं, कोई भी, हम लोग चाहें तो हम लोग भी नामकरण कर सकते हैं किसी साइक्लोन का, बशर्ते सारी की सारी कंडीशन जो है वो फॉलो हो रही है। नंबर 1, the proposed name should be neutral to politics and political figure, religious beliefs, cultures, gender. देखिए पहले क्या होता था ना, पहले जो तूफानों के नाम, साइक्लोन्स के नाम होते थे, वो महिलाओं के नामों पे रखे जाते थे। लोगों ने इसका बड़ा ऑब्जेक्शन किया, भाई लोगों ने बड़ा वो बोले, जैसे आपको याद होगा कटरीना नाम का एक तूफान आया था, करीना नाम का एक तूफान आया था, इस तरीके से तूफान आए तो लोगों ने बोला भैया विक्टिम कैन नॉट बी सो मच डिजास्टरस, इतना डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं कॉज कर सकती है, तो भाई आपको ये ऑफेंसिव है बहुत ज्यादा महिलाओं के प्रति, तो भाई इसके ऊपर काम किया गया। सिमिलरली रिलीजियस बिलीव्स किसी के ना हाथ हो। ओके, name should be given in such a way that it does not hurt the sentiments of any group of population over the globe. किसी भी जनसंख्या के जो इमोशंस हैं, जो सेंटिमेंट्स हैं, उनको ऑल अक्रॉस द ग्लोब हमको हर्ट करने की बिल्कुल आवश्यकता नहीं है, ऐसा हम नहीं कर सकते हैं। It should not be very rude and cruel in nature. ऐसा ना हो सुनने में लग रहा है एकदम आतंक का दूसरा नाम, not like this. Okay, it should be short, easy to pronounce, and should not be offensive to any member. It has to be short, easy to pronounce, right? The maximum length of the name will be 8 letters. There is this condition as well, that the total number of alphabets that it can have is 8 letters. Okay, the proposed name should be provided with its pronunciation and voice over. Okay, you have to provide the name with its proper pronunciation. The names of tropical cyclone over the North Indian Ocean will not be repeated. Once used, it will cease to be used again. Thus, the name should be new. That means once you have used a name for a particular cyclone, you cannot repeat the name again. Okay, you cannot repeat the name again. Otherwise, there would be a, like, you don't have that option of using one name repeatedly. Every time there a cyclone comes, there are 13 countries. Any of the suggestions given by these countries will be taken, will be accepted. Okay, condition that the name should follow all these particular guidelines, all these particular conditions. Okay, next. Now this was, guys, something with reference to cyclone Tauktae. Now let's talk about cyclone Yaas. Now सबसे पहले, first of all, the classification that I'm talking about, it has been classified with reference to its intensity into a very severe cyclonic storm. Remember, very severe, the condition was what? From 64 to how much? What was the condition? What should be the speed? Like I said, 64 knots to very severe cyclonic storm. Okay, then it will touch the coast of Odisha and West Bengal on May 26. The India Meteorological Department said a low pressure area formed over the east central Bay of Bengal and the adjoining North Andaman Sea. Now, where exactly this cyclone was formed? A low pressure area was created, okay, in the east of Bay of Bengal, and it was in affinity with the North Andaman Sea. So there a low pressure area was created, and with reference to that low pressure area, the formation of this particular cyclone took place. Yes, about the cyclone. The cyclonic storm that is expected to hit the coast of Odisha and Bengal next week has been named by Oman. Now, Tauktae was named by whom? Tauktae was named by Myanmar in Burmese language, sorry. Now, this Yaas has been named by Oman. Yaas refers to a tree that has a good fragrance, and in English, the word is similar to jasmine. So, Yaas refers to a tree which has a very good fragrance, and in English, this word is similar to jasmine. How exactly will it affect? What would be the conditions? What would be the situations that we will be seeing? Okay, that will be known later about this cyclone Yaas. Okay, and we have to see this thing. There was this article in Indian Express. In Indian Express, I think it was published on Thursday, if I'm not wrong, this Thursday. Now, there was this editorial in Indian Express newspaper on Thursday where they have talk in detail, where they have discussed in detail about what are the various aspects, what are the parameters, why Arabian Sea is actually becoming a host for so many cyclones. And it is really very interesting. So please procure that day's edition for you so that you guys have a very good, very great understanding of what exactly is happening. I'm glad that you liked it. It would be more interesting once the classes resume. Okay, once the physical classes start happening, definitely, I'm quite sure that it would be even better. I could say that definitely. And like I said, for a very small time, like until the things are not coming, till the time things are not coming back to normal, till then we have to bear with this. Okay, we have to adjust point. But once the institutions are open, then definitely the physical classes will take place, and the learning experience in the physical classes will again be really very amazing, will be really very good, right? Stay safe, stay at home. Okay, if it's not necessary, please do not go outside. Always wear a mask, use sanitizers, and most importantly, please take vaccines, guys. Okay, if you're getting the slot, okay. चलिए मुलाकात करते हैं in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care.